Fistful of Lead, Horse and Musket. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, Mr. Wargaming, we had a great time watching you play this set of rules set in the Napoleonic era. Then you rolled the clock back and you did another scenario set in the Wars of the French Revolution. But what if? Just what if I wanted to roll the clock back a little bit further and do some flashing blade style action with the Three Musketeers? Could you use it for that era as well? And I'm here to tell you I have no idea. But not knowing what I'm doing never stopped me before, so we're gonna try. I have a pretty good feeling it's gonna work just fine. Hey, take a look at these wonderful fellas right here. We'll zoom in just a little bit closer so you can see what they look like. The guy in green is one of the Three Musketeers. He's a chubby fella, so it must be Porthos. He is armed with a pistol and a sword. Now, given that this is even earlier than the French Counter-Revolution, I think these guys are still using matchlocks, which means it's going to take 2 actions to fire the pistols that they've got. And everybody is carrying 1 pistol plus their sword. Porthos over here is a leader. He's a bodyguard, which means he can transfer wounds to an ally within 2 inches. He's also a veteran rolling d12s. He has the fancy footwork, meaning he wins melee ties. And he is a melee master, meaning he rolls 2 dice in melee. Wait, I hear you say, that's 4 traits. Well, yeah, he's also a drunkard, which means he will start the game with 1 wound. And oh, by the way, one thing I do here, check this out. You know what's really nice? These handy-dandy Fistful of Lead era-specific cards come with a nice card case. And if you look, 1 set of the condition tokens fits right in there. Look at that. Isn't that convenient? So there's old Porthos starting with 1 wound. Now, he can heal with the use of a queen, but he at least starts with 1 wound. Next to him is D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan is the second. All right, look, don't freak out about the fact that one of the Three Musketeers is a second. D'Artagnan is relatively inexperienced at the time that we're doing this scenario, so he only has the 2, and also it's to make it work within the rules, okay? He is determined, he ignores shock and wound markers in melee, and he is a brawler, so he can re-roll his melee die 1 time. The 3 guys in blue, the King's Guard, are all weapon masters. They have a +1 in melee, and again, they all have pistols, but it does take, remember, 2 actions to fire a pistol. It's expensive to fire a pistol in this era, by design. Let's take a look at their enemies, and then we'll set up the terrain and talk about the scenario. Don't let the outfits fool you. All 5 of these figures are members of Richelieu's Guard. The 2 guys in front have disguised themselves in highwaymen, and have lured the 2 Musketeers into a trap. The guy on the left with the sword is a leader. He is cold-blooded, +1 in melee for every opponent's shock and wound. He is ferocious. He does +1 wound in melee, and he has nerve, so he ignores his first shock result. His second, over here on the right, don't let the figure fool you. He does have a pistol and a sword. In fact, all these guys have 1 pistol in addition to their sword. Or they have 1 sword in addition to their pistol. The second over here is a rock. He is never pushed back or swaps places in melee, and he is a street fighter, meaning he is never considered outnumbered. The 3 guys in the back are mooks. They are bloodthirsty. They only get to 1 trait because they're regular soldiers. As bloodthirsty figures, they must charge when there's someone within charge range, and they have a +1 to their melee roll and a +1 to the wound roll if they win that melee. What we're going to do is we're going to set up our highwaymen in the terrain as a trap. They are pretending to try to rob the Musketeers and the King's Guard. And little do the Musketeers know until they're too close to get away that it is an ambush, and we'll put these guys. Now, unlike the last week's episode where the ambush turned into just the French Revolutionary soldiers running for the road immediately without a whole lot of combat, today we're going to set up our initial deployment is going to guarantee that we're going to see exactly what you came here to see, and that's blood on the blade. As the action begins, our arrogant and justifiably so 2 Musketeers have already spotted the ambush up ahead. 2 highwaymen have felled trees and blocked the little valley. See these hills? In game terms, these hills require 4 inches to get from the bottom to the top. The wall there around the orchard requires 3 inches to cover. So to get from the bottom of the hill into that orchard will cost a total of 8 inches. The wood bases over there block line of sight after an inch. This is an orchard, so all of these trees block line of sight, but beyond that, they don't. And these three members of the Cardinals Guard, 1, 2, and 3, hiding in the corner there, begin the game hidden. They cannot be fired at unless the King's Guard successfully passes a spot check of 8+. The King's Guard's goal is to get off the road in that direction. The goal of the Richelieu's Guard is to kill both of the green hats. Now, I know the Three Musketeers. What I've done to help distinguish the Three Musketeers from the King's Guard is I've given them green coloring, and hopefully that will help them stand out a little bit more as we switch to a more overhead view. I think we've covered everything. The rocks here are hardcover. The rocks in the woods are hardcover. If you're not behind a rock, it's soft cover. Trees are soft cover. Of course, the hills are hardcover. And all of these little grassland patches, you'll see there's more of them on the table just off screen. Those represent soft cover. And the felled trees, since those are felled, we're going to say you cannot pass through those, and those do count as hard cover. So the first thing we do when we play this game is shuffle up our period-specific Horse and Musket, Fistful of Lead playing cards, and deal out 2 hands. I kind of like this shot. Very dramatic, very cinematic here at the House of Wargaming. Every frame is a masterpiece. I am going to deal the Cardinals Guards over here on the right. 1, 2, 3, 8, Jack, 7, Deuce, and a Trace. And then for our Musketeers, it's going to be 6, 4, 7, Jack, and 3, meaning our Jack of Spades is going to get the first action. +1 to shooting. Well, that being the case, now one of the things that I did when I set these figures up was ensure that there was 12 inches of distance between the visible figures. That's when the Three Musketeers recognized that they had stepped into a trap. However, the guys over here on the sides are a little bit closer. We're going to use this Jack +1 to shooting to open fire. This fella springs up, loses his hidden status, and takes a shot at D'Artagnan. As you can see, that is 8 inches away. The pistol has a range of a short range. Up to 6 inches, your target number is a 5. Beyond 6 inches to 12 inches, your target number is an 8. We don't have any rabble, so we're just going to roll. And with a 3, that's going to be a miss. That is his only action, and he is now unloaded. Today I'm going to use a blue chip under the marker figure to show that he is unloaded. If we have anybody that drops a weapon or gets disarmed, then we will use a yellow chip to represent that. The next action is going to be +1 to close combat. And we're going to activate D'Artagnan. He says, "How dare you, sir?" And he charges over to this guy who's now visible and engages in a little bit of melee. I'm going to roll the green die for D'Artagnan and a red die. These are D20s. Just ignore the 10s, please, all right? And we should go down our list of abilities. Remember that D'Artagnan, he's attacking with his sword. Now, he is determined, he gets 1 reroll on this one, and he is fighting a mook who gets +1 to melee. So the mook is actually maybe a little bit better. The mook rolls a 5, and D'Artagnan rolls a 9. Now, D'Artagnan charged, so that 9 goes up to a 10. And then he's got a +1 to his close combat, so that 10 goes to an 11. They both have swords, so there's no advantage there. We could re-roll D'Artagnan's roll. I don't think we want to, though. 9 is pretty good. And it's a re-roll, not roll 2 and pick the best. I think we're done. No, because our Cardinals Guard does have a +1, so his 5 becomes a 6. And this just helps us remember. So our differential of 5 means that on the wound roll, D'Artagnan is going to be at +2. So we roll a straight D10 and add 2 to find out what happens. And with a result of a 7 +2, that guard goes out of action. Well done, D'Artagnan, but you're out of position. That might be trouble later. Then we count down who goes next. On the 8, we will, now beyond 12 inches, there's not a lot we can do, Should we take another shot? I think we go ahead and take a shot with this member of Richelieu's guard. So this 8 is just a straight up do it. And that guard is going to fire his pistol at Porthos. And let's see how close Porthos is. Again, we're looking at 8 inches, so it's a 8 up to hit. A 9 is a hit. And we'll drop a... I gotta reload here. And we'll roll that wound check. On a 3, +1 for each wound, that becomes a 4. Porthos is shocked. So we'll drop a shocked marker down on top of him as well. Oh no, does he have an ally within 2 inches? He does. Oh, but that's wound. If he's wounded, he can transfer that wound to one of his allies. But I don't think he can transfer shocked markers. Then we have to go to 7s, and hearts go before diamonds. So this time around, let's move this mook up to engage. Oh, that's 10 inches. All right. So he's going to move to there. And that's going to be his action. Oh, whoa, wait a minute now. I don't like that. Since we get a reroll on the turn for this 7, we're going to bring this guy over. He's 9 inches away. And that way, he can use a reroll on his melee. And as a mook, he gets a +1, +2 for the charge. His opponent gets a +1 on melee. So it's going to be +1. Let me grab a blue die for the Royal Guard. And we can just roll these dice and figure it all out. But again, remember that our blue guy who rolled a 2, because he activated on a 7, he gets a reroll. And we are going to want to reroll that too. And oh, we get a 3. Wow, that was really useful. Sure, I'm glad we did that. Well, at any rate, the 8 becomes a 9, thanks to the bloodthirsty nature of his enemy. And because of the charge, this 13 goes up to a 14, and because he's a weapon master, it goes up to a 15. Now, he does still lose by, well, it goes up to a 5, I should say. He still loses by 4, so he has to make a wound check, and that wound check is going to be at +1. D10 +1, a result of a 5, means that he is shaken. And this Musketeer can push him back 2 inches. The Richelieu's guard can. So we'll drop another shaken marker down on this guy. And then it is his turn. Not his turn. We have another. So this Cardinal's guard is going to shoot down at D'Artagnan. And he is 8 inches away. D'Artagnan has a cover. Meaning, what does that mean? He's in the grasslands, which means it's a +1, so that shot is only going to hit on a 9 or a 10, and 8 just ain't gonna do it. And that is both of his actions. But, you know, he does get a reroll. We might as well give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And on a 10, that turns into a hit, right? He gets a reroll because he activated on a 7. The 10 is a hit. D'Artagnan has to check for the wound, and on an 8, oh, that's no good, man. He takes a wound, and now D'Artagnan is going to be at -1 on basically everything he does, including movement. Then we go down to 6. Who wants to go next? And I think we need to bring Porthos. We're going to bring this guy up 10 inches to get stuck in. Ah, free reload? Nobody has fired. 6s are free reloads. We've got to remember that. Then we have the 3 of spades gets to go. And since this guard is now within 10, is he within 10? He's just outside of range. We're going to bring these 2 highwaymen behind the trees. They are going to take cover. And that's going to be their actions. Well, first, one of them moves with the 3. And, well, we should do that. We're going to move that one with a 3. And then this guardsman, well, I guess the 4 goes first, doesn't he? Let's get this right. Let's get this in order. This guardsman is going to charge 10 inches. That's as close as he can get. Then on the 3 of spades, this guy is going to shoot. The second is a rock and a street fighter, but because this guard is within 4 inches now, that guard is going to hit on a 5-up. And on a 2 he misses. Then Porthos can go, and Porthos is going to kind of sell his guy out. He's going to make a recovery check. Porthos has melee master. Well, he's really good, but he's got to get up there. I take it back. Porthos. Yeah, we gotta try to recover. And on a 10, because D'Artagnan took a bullet, he goes down. The wound that Porthos has is not technically a wound, it's actually his drunken status. If you are on the ground and wounded, you have to make a recovery roll. Because he was not on the ground, that recovery roll removes all of his shock and leaves him with 1 action that he can use to move the 4 inches. It would be 5, but he's wounded. So he's going to move up to here. And now, on this 2, the other fake highwayman is going to get to fire his pistol at close range. And what is worse is, because he is firing on a 2, he may roll 2 dice to see if he hits this soldier, this King's Guard, on a 5 or better. And he gets a 9 and an 8, so he definitely hits, and that guardsman rolls an 8, which means he is wounded, and he goes down and gets the wound marker. So on the next turn, now we know this wounded guardsman is going to have to make a recovery check. The other thing that I need to look at here is the skill for leadership. All right, I know it's a bit of a cluster heading in there. Once we resolve one of these 2 fights on the wings, we'll be able to push in and get a much better look at that, at what's going on there. In the meantime, the Richelieu's Guard only gets 4 cards, whereas the Musketeers still have 5 guys on the table. And we're hoping to get Porthos stuck in, because he is a combat beast. But it's taken him a long time to get there. Go figure, the fat guy's having a hard time getting stuck in. And this is not a good deal for the Musketeers. As you can see, Richelieu's men have got a king, a queen, 4, and a 3, and the Musketeers have a jack is the best they can do, 5, 4, 3, 2. What that means is that our highwaymen are going to get to go first, and they're going to reload their pistols with both of their actions. There's a reason for that. When you have a loaded weapon in melee in these black powder rules, that opens up a lot of options. We're going to use the jack. Oh, we get a +1 to close combat. All right, so here's the difficulty. If we bring Porthos up into close combat, he's going to have a good time with those 2 boys. We had to pop up so we could show you exactly what the lay of the land is here. The issue is that Porthos, if he runs up and takes advantage of this +1 to close combat, he's going to leave D'Artagnan behind. Right now, D'Artagnan, when he makes his recovery roll, is going to have a +1 to that roll. Oh boy. So, maybe the best thing to do is try to recover this guy. He's close enough to get stuck in and do some damage there. Now, Porthos is the hero, right? The other thing we can do is we can defer and we can move this guy first. Why don't we go ahead and do that? He's going to charge in, and he's going to be at a total of +1 when fighting this guy. And here's where having the loaded weapon does come in handy. Because our guardman has a loaded weapon, he can say, look, I'm going to fire it off here in melee. I'm going to take advantage of my pistol. That gives him a reroll in this fight. We'll roll our d10s, so to speak, and we get an 8 for the blue and a 5 for the red. Now remember, the blue charged, so the 8 goes to a 9, and then it goes up to a 10 because he is a weapon master, but it drops back down to a 9 because he is shocked. The 5 stays at a 5. Difference of 4 is going to be a +1 on that wound roll. And let's see what our little soldier does. That is cocked. We're going to re-roll. He does not a whole lot. He delivers a shock to the other guy, and he's going to opt to do nothing. He says, come at me. Oh, you know what? He has a +1. Well, it doesn't make any difference. The +1 in melee increases the difference to a 5, which means this is a +2 to the roll, which becomes a 3, which still has the effect of shaken. On the 5, D'Artagnan is going to make his recovery roll, and he is at -1 on the recovery roll because of the wound, but he does have his bro there shouting encouragement to him, so he gets a +1. That's a negate, and on a result of a 1, that can't be good. He's out of action. Trying to recover from the wounded. Yeah, that's it. D'Artagnan's out of the fight now. Then it's going to be the 4 of spades. And for that, we'll just reload this guy up here in the corner of the orchard. Then it will be a 4 for the royalists. And now Porthos is gonna get stuck in. He's gonna barge on up here, and he's gonna start by fighting number 2. Although he's gotta fight both of those guys. You know what? He can hack it. He can handle it. The other thing we could do is we could try to make the wound recovery roll, and if we roll high, oh no, we can't. You need a medic to recover from that. The best you can do is stand up. The other thing we can do, the other thing we could do is bring this guy. You know what? That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're going to do. We're going to bring him back. We're going to bring this guy up. We want him to survive, though. Oh, boy. Yeah, we got to bring him up. We got to bring our beast in. He's going to be fighting against 2 guards, so we will roll a red and a orange for the Richelieu's guards. And then there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. Porthos is going to roll a d12. Not only that, he's going to roll a pair of d12s because he's a melee master. He wins ties. He is at +1, and he's going to fire off his pistol. He's got to pick one of these guys to fight first. Boy, there's a lot of modifiers. We're going to try to, he's going to use his pistol to get a reroll. And we got to declare who we're fighting first. He's going to fight the second first. So let me just roll the dice and we'll do the math. The second rolls a 9, and we're going to take advantage of that reroll with this. Oh, no, we did the best we could. All right. Probably, well, I don't know. If we'd rolled 2 1s, unlikely, but if we had, we could get the reroll, and that might have saved Porthos' life. At the end of the day, what we're looking at here is that second is he's never pushed back. Ooh, how about that? And he's never outnumbered, so that's not an issue. What we come up with here is that the differential of 3. These are the highest dice we've got. And Porthos there wins ties. That's it. So Porthos wins by 3. Does he? He got a +1 for the charge. He got a -1 for the wound. So he's at a neutral. And then his buddy, the guy he's fighting, has an extra guy in combat. So he only wins by 2. And when you win by 2, that is only going to give you a 0. So it's just a straight roll on the check. And a result of a 7 is going to wound the second and knock him down. And that is it. Oh, no, it's not. The other thing we have to do, this is actually a 3-way fight. I ran out of d12s. So remember that Porthos' final score is a 12. 1, 2, 3. No, it's an 11. No, his final score is a 12. Right. So the guy he's fighting now has to roll 1d6. and he's going to add +1 to his, 1d12. And he's going up against a 12. He got a 2. But he gets +1 for every wound, so this 2 becomes a 3. A difference of 9 means Porthos is going to have a +3 on his wound roll against this other guy. So the way this is supposed to work is you roll attacks for all 3 figures. And then you compare the outnumbered guy to the attacks for the guys who outnumber him. The only bonus that our boy has here, oh, you know what he could do? He could fire his gun and get that free reroll. And that results in a 4, which is only a difference of 8, which means he's still going to be at +3 on this wound roll. I told you Porthos was a monster. And a 5 + 3 is going to be a result of an 8. And on a wound roll of 8, is there anything that we can do here? Does he have any special abilities? No, he is also wounded. So he gets his first wound of the day. And then we have the 3 of spades going to go. And that 3 of spades is down here. We're going to do another round of combat. And it'll be straight roll, red versus blue. That's the 3 of spades there. The Cardinal Guard gets a 10, and our buddy gets a 5. They're actually both at +1 in melee, so it is a difference of 6 on that roll. It's going to be a +2 on the wound chart. A 6 + 2, that's an 8, and so he wounds the King's Guardsman, who has already gone. Who has not gone yet? D'Artagnan. Why do I have 2 cards left? I know. Oh, because neither of these guys have gone yet. We will go ahead and use the 3 to bring this guardsman up to assist Porthos. And to keep it simple, we're going to break this into 2 fights. It'll be the leaders versus the seconds. This means that our trusty guard is at +2 with a reroll. 1 for the charge, 1 for being a weapon master. The reroll is the use of the pistol in melee. The guy on the ground is going to fire his pistol as well. That gives him a reroll. And the guy on the ground is going to be at a total of... Oh no, he's not going to fire his pistol. He automatically gets a reroll because he's a brawler. So each of these dice get to be rerolled. It's a +2 on the blue, -2 on the red. That becomes a 4. And so this becomes a 4 versus a 3. And they're both going to reroll. For a difference of, they both come up 5, +2, -2, total differential of 4 results in a +1 to the wound roll. But it's going to be an additional +1 because he is on the ground. And the second, let's see, never, yeah, that's it. So it's going to be a total of +2, 1 for the wound, and 1 for the differential. And 11 means the second now is put out of the game. Nice going. And we now outnumber the leader, and we have one last card, which is a 2 of hearts. The guy that's laying on the... Oh, wait a minute. Who else hasn't gone yet? I take it back. We've got one more guy that needs to go. And that is this guy. Yeah, with the 2 of hearts. That's the last action. He's going to make a recovery roll. And as you can see, he gets to roll 2 dice, and he's going to take the better. So here's 2 dice. Which one is better? He's going to take the 3 on that wound recovery roll. He is still wounded. Oh, -1 is a 2. He is still wounded. He needs to roll a 7 or better, basically. And that is the end of the turn. So we'll back off a step. This model and this model still have their pistols available. Everybody else has fired it off. And I don't know, it's still anybody's game. We are down to 1, 2, 3 models on the part of Richelieu's Guard, but we've only got 2 standing Musketeers. So this could get awkward. So for the Guard, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards for the King's Guards. Jack, Jack, Queen, and a deuce. And Jack, Queen, and an ace, and a free reload. That's huge in a game like this. The ace is going to say, I want a Queen of Spades, or a Queen of Hearts. Now, the genuine Queen of Hearts always goes first. The Queen of Hearts allows you to recover from a wound. So the question for the King's Guards is, which of our boys do we want to stand up? We can stand up this guy to make this fight a little more even, or we can stand up this guy, or we can even heal Porthos over here. And I think the thing to do, I'm a little worried about this guy over here. He is really far away. I'm inclined to stand this guy up and race him up to there to force this guy to charge him. I don't know if he's got the distance to do that, though. He doesn't have enough inches to get to the top of the wall. Why don't we... Who do we like? I think we're going to heal Porthos, and we're going to put that leader down. Because that leader is going to be a real... You know what I forgot about with this guy? He gets an extra +1 because of Porthos. Wouldn't have made an effect. His die roll was a 3, I want to say. And he needed a 7. So it wouldn't have made a difference. But something important to remember. So Porthos says, haha, he shrugs off his wound, and he's going to make an attack against the guy on the ground. He has some help this time around, though. So not only is Porthos, and I got to roll 2 dice for Porthos, and he's going to win the tie, and he's going to be at a total of +1 for the buddy. I think that's it. His buddy is only good. Well, let's just roll for each of these guys, and we'll sort it out from there. All right, so ignore the 5, and that 5. Now we'll roll this d12 for the fake highwayman, and he gets a 3. But does he have anything? No, he does not. He's got +1 for every opponent wound, but nobody has one, and he does do +1. He's got nothing going for him there. All right, this is going to be ugly. The bad news, the good news is, this is going to be really ugly. This 3 drops down to a 1 for the wound, and 1 for being on the ground. Then Porthos is going to go up to 12. His friend is going to go up to 8. Either way, this guy now has to make 2 rolls on the wound chart. And both of those rolls are going to be at least a +1. The first one, he's already out. He's done. So when the leader goes down, does everybody else have to make a check? Is there anything... a lot of miniature war games, when your leader goes down, it's bad news for everybody else. They're going to lose heart. But I don't think anything happens here. The leader trait can only be taken by leaders. Oh, go figure. The model must be... Nope, that's it. That was Porthos's turn. So this guy still hasn't gone yet. And what a great turn that was, too. For their part, the... ace. This ace is going to be used as a Queen of Spades. That will allow this figure to remove shock. And removing the shock means he's going to be able to attack this poor guardsman on the ground. He's bloodthirsty. So he's got a +1 to his melee, and he's got a +1, I think that's it, +1 to his melee. Yeah, so we're going to roll 2d10, and it's going to be red versus blue, as usual. If I can find my red, where'd my red die go? I had a red d20. There it is. Okay. So just no rerolls, nothing like that. The guy in red gets a 10. We'll call that a 5. The 10 goes up by 1 for the... This 5 becomes a 4 because he's on the ground. A shock and a wound takes it down to a 2. And then the bloodthirsty guy goes up to an 11. Hey, look, we're going to be rolling at a grand total of +3 on this wound chart. Not only that, but because the Cardinal's Guard is bloodthirsty, it's an additional +1. So we're at a total of +4 on this. And a 6 is going to... oh, it's +1 for each wound on the figure. Not shaken, huh? Alright, so that 2 becomes a 3, becomes a 4. And that's a second shock. Then the only thing that figure is going to be able to do is try to recover from his wound first. And that's going to be a sticky one, isn't it? The next thing we're going to do is bring... we get a couple of +1s in combat. I don't think we can take advantage of either of those. This guy is too far away. We're going to use one of our actions. Oh man, should he just reload? No, he's going to use one of his actions to get to the base of the hill over here and dare this guy. We're going to move the full 5 inches away, so we're at long range. That's going to be the... Oh, you know what? Jack of Spades goes first. Which means this guy is going to get to take a shot before he moves. And that shot, he's going to shoot at the guy on the ground. That's what he does. And a 1 is going to be, not only is that a miss, but it's a misfire. So he has to spend a full turn fixing his pistol. And then he's going to have to spend a full turn reloading it. And that's his only action, is firing that pistol. All right, it's good we did that, because that means this guy basically has open season. He's going to be able to rush up to here. We'll put him behind the tree. And now he's going to take 2 actions to get up into the orchard. That's his action. Then this guy is going to try to recover. And he's at a total of 0, so he's still on the ground. And then we have one more guy who's going to roll 2 dice to recover. And that's just trying to stand up. He gets a 7. You get to choose the better. And that result of a 7... No, that's still only a result of 4. He is still wounded. He cannot stand. Subtract 1 for each wound and shaken. Yeah. All right, so it's +1 on the wound roll, but it's -1 on the recovery roll. So he's still on the ground, and that's the end of the turn. The tables are beginning to swing. We still have 4 guys on the table for the Royalists, and now it's just going to be 2 for the surviving 2 guards. Yeah. I feel like he didn't attack. Did he? Oh, no, he did attack and he did some wounds. So here we go. It's going to be 2 for the Cardinal and 1, 2, 3, 4 for everybody else. Now, the Cardinal's guard, look at that. Free reload, except the guy's pistol is busted. So we're going to give this guy the free reload. He's going to go first, and he's going to try to finish off this King's Guardman laying on the ground. Rolling 2 dice. The guy in red gets an 11. Ooh. So he drops one of his weapons. I guess he... Oh, you know what? Let's burn the pistol, take the reroll, keep it simple. So he burned his pistol. He's going to do a reroll. He gets a 6 this time, and the 9 goes down to 8, 7, 6, 5 because the guard is still on the ground. So that becomes a 5, and the 6 goes up to a 7. A difference of 2 is going to be rolling on the wound chart at +1, and a 3 is another shaken marker. What is the deal? There's a deal with when you're shocked, when you've got more shock than wounds, something happens. This is where things get a little bit cheap. I can see right now that all of the Musketeer forces are going to get to take actions before this last guy gets to go. So we're going to burn those actions by moving one guy to the top of the hill. This guard over here that you can't see, he's just off screen. Porthos is going to get closer, and then we are going to make a recovery roll for this guy. He's supposed to be down. The camera's off. I'm just going to replay it. And with a 7... +1 for the leader, -1 for the wound. He stands up. That is his entire activation. These 3 guys have gone. Now we have to handle this last guy down here. And this last guy down here is going to be activating on a He's going to fight. Okay, this gets a little confusing. There's a number of must-dos here. If you have more shock than wounds, you must retreat. Make 2 full moves away from the nearest enemy. But if you are locked in melee, you must use your first action to fight in melee. So we're going to roll 2d10, and it's going to go poorly for the guy on the ground. He is going to have a total to his score of -5, right? 4 for the shock, and then minus an additional 1 because he's on the ground, so he's at -2. I'm just going to put 2 there. That's a negative. No, that's not right. He's going to be at -3. So our guy on the ground is at -3, and the guy trying to curb stomp him, and I get rid of that. He is at +1 because he is bloodthirsty. He gets a result of a 4, which means a total differential of 7 means rolling on that wound chart at +3. An 11 means this guardsman is finally out of the fight. He put up a heck of a defense, but he just was not gonna hack it. And that is not the end of the turn because we still have one more action on the part of this guy right here. And he, because he's bloodthirsty, he has to charge into melee with this guardsman over here. Now he gets a total bonus of 2, +1 for the charge, +1 because he's a weapon master. The guy he's fighting has a +1 for also being a melee master. And it's going to be a total of 3 versus 4. The boys in blue have won this one, and our wound check is a result of 1, which, boy, I think that might not be nothing. Oh, he's shaken at least. And that is the end of the turn. We now have 2 guardsmen and 3 musketeers left in the fight. We'll shuffle this deck and deal out some cards and see who goes. The ambush is not going quite as well as the Cardinals' guards had hoped. However, one of the things to be aware of is that their victory condition was kill Porthos, and it doesn't look like they're going to have much luck doing that. There's our 1-2 cards. Ooh, a couple of rerolls for the Richelieu's guards. And then we're going to have a total of 3 cards for the boys in blue. Ace, 9, and a 2. We're going to use that ace as a jack of clubs. And this guy, this guardsman, is going to use that jack of clubs to gain a +1 on his melee roll for a total of +2. It's going to be +2 for the blue, +1 for the red. And, well, that didn't go very well, did it? I'm sorry, it's going to be a neutral score for the red. He is at -1 because of the shock marker. That means we have a total of 6 versus 20 and a wound roll of 6. The differential of 4 is a +1, so that 7 becomes wounded. This guy goes down with a wound. And then it's going to be time for the 9 to go, and Porthos says, I'm sorry, I can't let you hurt my buddy. He's going to rush up, leap the wall, and get into combat with the guy. And he rolls 2d12, and the guy he's fighting only rolls a single d10. So that's going to be an 8 versus a 9, and then it gets worse. Well, this 8 goes up to a 9 because the Cardinal's guard is a weapon master. He is bloodthirsty. Oh, you know what? I forgot. He also has a +1 on the wound chart. That result of 7 becomes an 8, which is still wounded, so we're still okay. The 9 versus the 9, although we'll give the drunkard, he wins ties. How about that? So because you want a tie, we're going to roll a straight roll on the wound chart. And a 10 means this Cardinal's guard goes out of action. And then, not only that, yeah, that's it. So then the Cardinal's guard is going to race 10 inches. I know he's off screen right now, but he's only 10 inches away. So he is going to be able to charge this wounded guardsman. And he does get a reroll because he's attacking on a 7. So it'll be 2 D10s going against each other. And it's going to be a 7 versus, he gets a reroll, so the 1 goes bye-bye. And he gets another 1. Look at that. Oh my gosh. The 1 at least goes up to a 13. But the King's Guard has disarmed him. It'll take a full action to recover that. This 7 goes down by 1 because the Kingsman is a weapon master, or is injured, and then up 1 because he's a weapon master. So it is still a differential of 4, and we're going to roll that wound chart with a +1, and a 0 becomes another man down. And Porthos has managed to escape the trap, but he's got to run over and patch up D'Artagnan, who is laying bleeding in the weeds. And I guess they'll just ride off and leave the Cardinals guards right where they're at. It was a hard-fought battle with a considerable amount of back and forth. But what a fun and tidy little game. Look at, we did some terrain, some hill terrain, a nice little valley fight. We got stuck, this guy just stood up here loading his pistol, casually loading and firing until they were able to kind of catch him in a pincher movement. Maybe this, letting him run up the hill and then take it, maybe we should have, left him behind the wall and given an extra minus, but I tell you, he's just going to fall over and things get a little wonky, so... and honestly, with outnumbered 3, it's fine. It's fine. Don't lose too much sleep over it, okay? So as you can see, a lot of the same feel, but when you choose your traits wisely, one of the things I did is I gave all of the Musketeers, period-specific and authentic feeling traits. They're all really good at melee. Shooting takes a long time. So you're able to, with just a few subtle little tweaks, make this game feel suitable and feel like it represents a wide range of historical periods. It's all in the scenario design. It's all in just those little subtle adjustments that take you from the early 1700s to, call it, mid-1800s. Good stuff. What a fun game. I'll see you on Monday. I'm praying for you.